are as bad for the middle class as they've been in a long time, with wage growth being stagnant, with the inflation, while not as elevated as it was, is still high. Food prices are still continuing to go up at an extremely high level. uh, Everyone's getting squeezed, and there's so many different indicators. Even though everybody's still out, they're still out doing things. They are still, going to the grocery store, doing the shopping they have to do, paying rent, all the things that are happening. But we're seeing all of these indicators across the board, and one of those has to do is the fast food index. It's something that's tracked. We're going to get into. If you don't know what that is, we're going to cover it here in a little bit, so you have a better idea of what that means and what it's all about. But it's another indicator that is out there just showing that the middle class is continuing to get squeezed, and as the disposable income available to the middle class goes away, there's more less and less, frankly, just bandwidth or ability for the economy to absorb these losses, and it's really showing up. As you can see, we've been hearing about bankruptcies across the board around the U.S. for quite some time now. Now, with that, uh, let's take a look at this here. For those that don't know, my name is Ryan Howe. I'm a business coach who works out of West Michigan around the country. I'm at the house today. You can see I got a vacuum and everything in our side room here. And I come here on YouTube pretty consistently, just sharing information I share with my clients, and I hope to earn your subscription. So let's get into it here. First things first, again, the fast food index, we're going to take a look at this here. You see it starts in McDonald's here. But what I want to start with is actually this here, which is popular Mexican restaurant chain closes 24 restaurants and then files for bankruptcy. And this is, again, Yahoo Finance. This is one where I used to live in Texas, and I remember going to this restaurant quite a bit. This is Abuelos, a 36-year-old restaurant chain owned by Food Concepts International, filed for bankruptcy earlier this month in the bankruptcy courts for North District of Texas. They've got between $10 million and $50 million between your assets and liabilities. It is what it is. They just kind of give a range. But they want to have the bankruptcy squared away. And what they're doing is, out of their 40 stores that they have, they're closing 24 of them, so leaving them with 16 left. So more than 50% of their restaurants they're closing, and just honing in on the few that apparently are still making money for them. And this is pretty common. If you go into you go into Yahoo, you go into Google, and you say, "Hey, I want to pull something up for you guys here in a second." I downloaded something to kind of help with this, and you just type in bankruptcies that are going on. I think you're going to be blown away. We're gonna get this fast food index here. I forgot to pull it up earlier, so it's something I had my Claude make. But if you go and look up bankruptcy and fast food, you're going to see dozens and dozens of restaurant chains that have gone and again cleared bankruptcy and frankly just shut down across the U.S. this year. It has been at an extremely high level and an extremely high pace for the entire year. Between labor costs and food costs, it is just decimating the industry. So let's take a look. This is from Counterpunch, and this is what came across my feed today, and I've been sharing this with my clients and just chatting. I don't have any restaurant, like fast food clients. Uh, Fast food, like restaurant clients, that's not something that I have. However, this is an indicator because a couple of my clients, they service restaurants, so it's important for them to know. Now, for the last several years, individuals relied on real inflation adjusted spending as fast food restaurants as a useful gauge of consumer sentiment. Began this during the pandemic recovery, when the media were constantly telling us that people were struggling to make ends meet. While this is always true in a country with a weak social safety net and extreme income inequality, got to qualify that. The question any serious person asks whether it's getting worse or better. And I kept pointing to the data showing that, at least for those at the bottom, it seemed to be getting better. We're going to look at that here. Wages in the lowest paying sector, hotels and restaurants, were substantially outpacing inflation. Again, for business owners, they had to increase wages because of the competition that was out there for the labor. So over the last 5 years, there's been a consistent uptick in the overall wages and prices they've had to pay individuals, specifically within in hospitality. That's not the case right now. Let's see here. Also analysis, again, also analysis of wage data in the current population survey showed that workers in the bottom decile, that's the bottom 10% of wage distribution, had the fastest real wage growth in half a century. So between that 4 year wag, it was a lot where things just bumped up. Um, okay, we look what people say in a country of 330 million. We could always find someone almost saying anything is true. That a lot of people quoted news accounts, etc., etc. There's polar dam, but also ends up ambiguous. So let's get to the point here. Here we go. What I wanted to show you is this. This is real spending at fast food restaurants. Okay. So this shows again just how much they are spending as far as increasing and going. And you can see all the way back here in January 2021 where things bottomed out, where nobody was spending anything, to where you saw the steady increases. And now since 2024, restaurant spending has been flat. But you know what hasn't been flat? Wages and wage growth. And that's what I want to be able to take a look at here. What I did is I took this article. Again, link to this article is in the description. Be sure to go check it out. You want to see this here? I had Claude, my LLM, go through and where's it at? Here we go. And I asked it to basically turn this website, make an infographic that I can help make sense of this thing. So we can kind of show this here. So what we had is from 2021 to 2023, there's 5.4% was the real annual growth in spending at fast food places. So that's considerable amount of growth. And then, but from 2023 to 2024, it's actually been down, going negative. Okay. So that's something that's just showing where people are not spending, right? That's what that's going to. We talk about the wage growth here. There's 15% in that bottom 10%. And then since 2023, it's barely even budged. And a lot of that has to do with the labor costs shot up so much so fast, along with inflation on all of our protein and other food items. And you add into the other piece here, where necessarily in fast food, but even in the sit-down restaurants that'd be more in like a quick serve type environment where they serve adult beverages, alcohol sales are down too as well. So again, fast food spending reflects lower and middle income consumer confidence better than aggregate consumption, again, which is dominated by 10%. So what they're saying here is fast food is where the poors hang out, right? Me and everybody else. We all come down here to fast food world. And we have not been spending at the fast food restaurants. And a lot of that has to do with there's a few things. One, we don't have the money for it. We got to make decisions between are we going to buy stuff at the grocery store? We got rent to pay, electricity's been getting more expensive, everything's going up. So we're making decisions with our dollars, right? The other side of it though is that frankly, quality of the food has not just stagnated, I'd say it's gotten worse over time. Like it is not as enjoyable to go out to go and get food at a fast food restaurant, and I could make better food at home with for much less. So why am I going to go out and deal with that? And there's everything else that goes along with that, the tipping and the poor attitude that you're getting from folks. Which, and not knocking people, is what it is. All right. So when we talk about the growth expended, this is just showing how the overall fast food spending growth was shot. Pre-pandemic, we were just kind of doing our thing, enjoying our growth. During the recovery after pandemic, just exploded, right? Because the amount of DoorDash and people are like, man, I can just have McDonald's delivered. I'm going to do that. And I went through that whole thing. And then we all ran out of money. And now it's just flat or even down. So here's the deal. This is what the other thing has come to is what we're dealing with. And it's not talked about enough. And this is a key component for the economy. And I want to make sure we take a second. We really spend a moment at this improving positive and negative. One of the signs of an economy that is bottoming out, it's hit the bottom, is where we go through this. So we're going to show that wages outpacing inflation, historical growth for the lowest earner, right? So we see where the reality versus the perception gap, right? So economic data does show that there are things improving, even though we've flatlined for wages for a while. Things do look like they're bottoming and getting ready to improve. Personal situation. Most people report their own finances as relatively good. You will see this consistently within economies where things are bad, but they've started to bottom. We're like, actually, you know what? I'm doing fine. I'm able to pay my bills. I'm able to put a little bit of money away. We get to go do the things we want to do. Can we go and just go spend it like crazy? No. But for the most part, our finances are in good spot. You're going to find that is the case for everyone. And what they what the perception is, though, is the perceived economy, which is I'm just seeing everything looks like doom and gloom, and I'm hearing nothing but badness. I'm looking around and seeing bankruptcies all over the place, businesses going under. So things must be terrible. And this is again what you want to see. Things don't look good right now. Yes, we see improving economic data, but that you can cherry pick that. Other aspects of the economy look terrible that affect more so with us, which is what does employment look like? How long is it taking to get a job? How many homes are for sale? All of the indicators that deal with in the middle class world don't look all that great. And so there's when they're looking around saying, "Hey, things don't look fine." Yet when you talk to people, they're doing okay. Things aren't terrible. And that is one of the gaps that we're having. And when that occurs, when people say my situation is fine, but the economy doesn't seem well, you don't spend as much money because you're worried that it may come and get you at some point. Okay? That's the psychology that we are battling right now. All right. So let's click a few things. Why does this matter again? While wealthy people also visit McDonald's, KFC, they're unlikely to increase visits when the stock market rises. Instead, more money typically leads them to choose expensive sit down restaurants. So, this makes fast food spending changes a more accurate reflection of the lower middle class consumer confidence, right? When we're going to go out to eat, we're going to go out to typically let's go get a burger and fries, right? We're not going to go to a place that has a sit down. It may be comparable in price, but there's also the tip quotient that goes into that as well. You just see that. So when you see where now end of the day, what they're trying to say here is why it's important, why it matters. When we see that spending in fast food has flatlined, that does say that okay, I don't want to spend any more than I have to for food. Like that's what they're getting at. I don't see in the future where there's a possibility I may not have access to much money or the economy might change or whatever it is. And that's where that shows up, okay? That's what they're getting at. All right, so next thing. So I want to see what the data suggests about the near-term economic future. Labor market shows signs of weakening through 2024. It has been and I've talked about it at length on this program, folks. It's garbage out there. It's so tough to get hired, and nobody wants to leave no one's quitting. Quit rates are way down because folks are looking at us saying, "Oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever to get a job." So my labor market is really kind of garbagey right now. At the same time, we're losing, I think it's 10,000 boomers are retiring every day. 10,000. It's insane. So we have possibility of openings, but what's happening? Businesses aren't rehiring for them. That's what's occurring. Now, real wages for hotel and restaurant workers are barely up in 2 years. They've been flat. I think anybody in the industry knows that. And again, same thing, stagnant on spending, more potential negatives than positives in the horizon. Again, momentum is the big piece here. So again, links to all these are going to be in the description. Be sure to check that out. I don't have links to um, the infographic I put there. That was pulled from that ad, from that not from that ad, from that article that I put out there. So what am I talking to my clients about with this? Why am I even sharing this? Well, we, all of my clients were looking at different indicators on sales, uh, inflation costs, procurement, and spending that happens either in B2B for business to business or direct to consumer, right? Those are the two areas that my clients are at. Well, what we're seeing as a form of health for my clients that they're dealing with, one of the issues is delinquencies and payments, right? Typically, if you're a business to business, you're gonna be making payments within 30 days. Let's say net 30. That's what you want to see. Well, the average for one of my clients, as an example, it has been 22 days. It's been 22 days now for, well, up until I want to say April this year. It had been about 22 days was the average for net, basically for full payment from their customers. And then in April, it's been moving up every single month as we've been looking at these, making adjustments to now we're close to 45 days. So what has happened is an example, right? It's talking about where the economy's at and what's happening with the signal, really what it means. Businesses now are pushing their cash flow problems that they have or their concerns. They're having to manage their cash in a way they're extending payments out. It's taking twice as long now from one of my clients to get paid, and that's actually pretty much in line with most of them. It's doubled how long it's take for them to get paid for their work, which is an indicator. which means other businesses are seeing something similar to what we're looking at here in the fast food index, right? That as the middle class is struggling to pay their bills, the same thing is happening with middle class businesses, right? The small and medium sized businesses. It is taking them a long time to be able to pay their bills, and they're being a much more risk averse when it comes to hiring, spending capital, etc. That's what they're seeing. Additionally, many of my clients, their employ their customers are the big boys, right? The Walmarts, the Amazons, the Microsoft, etc. Just the big boys. And they're seeing what had typically been a 90-day payment from them is now at a 120. So even the big boys are kind of seeing it a little bit, but not the same level that you're seeing with others. So when we're looking, so really what this is the best known practice is to make sure you have an entire slew, like a collection of indicators to look at when you're making business decisions, when you're making decisions on your finances as a whole within wherever, right? And this is one that we use. It came up on my feed. It's I don't look at this like every month or whatever, but I do look at it a couple times a year. It is on my list of hey, what's the fast food index looking at? Big Mac index is another one for around the world, like how the different currencies are at. And in this case, fast food index. And this when this stays flat like this, it is another indicator saying that man, people while they may be doing well, they don't trust what's in the horizon. And that means money's slowing down in the economy, right? Taking longer to make. They're not sending money to one spot, or they are taking longer to pay, which you've seen delinquencies in car notes and credit cards are rising really, really fast. Now, it depends how you measure them, but end of the day, like dollar for dollar, they're going up considerably. Okay. So when I'm talking to my clients about this is simply just saying, hey, everyone else is slowing down on their payments and what they expect to see in the future. How do we want to view and prepare? Well, how do we want to prepare for this? Do we want to prepare for a recession that may or may not be coming, possibly, or whatever the worst thing in the world could be happening? Or do we want to prepare for, hey, the economic data looks like it's bottomed for the most part. Some of it still looks a little, a little fuzzy, a little soft, a little spongy, right? Do we want to start preparing for the turnaround, make some capital investments? That is the business decisions that my clients are making right now, and that's why we have all this information. So that's what we're really going to be doing with that. Okay. So again, hopefully that was helpful for you folks here. Again, hopefully that earned your subscription. If you are a business owner who is, you know, unsure about the value of the business and how they, maybe even thinking about selling it, you're not sure. I'm an exit planner, certified exit planner from the Exit Planning Institute of America. I am also a value builder certified exit planner. And what that means is if you go down in the description, there's a link to my value builder assessment. It takes about 15 minutes. Fill out the information. It's going to give you your score on the 8 key drivers for business growth. Those 8 key drivers are extremely important for overall value of your business. And what I do is I work with my clients to get those as strong as possible, which is going to increase your multiple, which, my goal whenever I work with a company is the money that I make, I'm able to increase in the value of your business will at least cover my fee plus the taxes you are going to pay anyways on your sale. So if you think about your overall sale and say you're going to sell your business for $5 million, whatever happens to be, think about the tax rate on that, we're going to get that tax rate back to you. Like that is what my goal is at a minimum with my clients. So again, go check that out. Links in the description. Also, if you want to learn more just how I help businesses grow faster than ever thought possible, go and check out Summit Business.